It's truly the Australian special with some fantastic news surrounding the Airbus A321XLR and Turkish Airlines launching flights to another Australian city. Why not begin there, with the company continuing its commitment to expansion by commencing additional flights to the land down under, with the debut of a service to Sydney. The first aircraft touched down at the end of last week, and the inaugural service was operated from Istanbul through Kuala Lumpur before arriving at Sydney Kingsford Smith. Turkish Airlines operated its Boeing 777 on service to the popular Australian city. The triangular route moves away from what is seen on the Melbourne service, which, yes, does obviously operate from Istanbul. However, it has a pit stop at Singapore Changi instead, effectively. Therefore, Sydney becomes the second gateway for the carrier in Australia and the second city to also launch in 2024. With this region being of focus for some time, it was just about when Turkish Airlines would get the approval and have the ability to commence these flights. Adding Turkish Airlines to Australia has given those that call Turkey home a means to get there more quickly. However, it has also presented an opportunity for the airline to shake up the sector, with now added competition from a major international airline with a massive network to go alongside it. With service to Sydney, Turkish Airlines prioritised its launch pretty early, and that is visible through 4 weekly flights, which does equate to more than any other port in Australia, and this obviously being the only other one in Melbourne, and this is also despite that launching prior. The company highlights that the 4 weekly flights will facilitate connecting to more than 350 network destinations, and that is the massive appeal that Turkish Airlines is looking to offer. Of course, some people are going to board the aircraft for the purpose of flying to Turkey. However, others are going to utilise Turkish Airlines' network to their advantage and be able to reach a wide array of major capital cities. The 4 weekly flights that I speak of aren't expected to last forever. Why? Well, the company is committed to increasing service from the initial 4 to 5 services per week as soon as June 2025. So again, I'll reiterate, this is really showing just how confident it is in the Australian market and it being a long-term success. Plus, Turkish Airlines believes that soon it'll be able to introduce long-ranged Airbus A350s for the purpose of service to Sydney in 2026. Why will they be putting a long-range A350? Well, because they envisage the Istanbul to Sydney service soon becoming non-stop. That's right, they won't need a stopover somewhere through Asia. That flight will go without a single stop. And soon they'll also do the same to Melbourne. The airline was always focused on non-stop services. This isn't necessarily a shock. Pretty much from the moment it announced its intention to fly to the country, it also said that it was going to work on making the services without a stopover. But launching first was the absolute priority. And with the knowledge that aircraft are capable of flying non-stop that will eventually be delivered to the company, well, it was certainly exciting times ahead. Turkish Airlines calls the service to Sydney as momentous, with this the longest flight path in history, the second city in Australia after a successful launch to Melbourne only at the beginning of this year. While Melbourne continues to grow, Sydney Airport has 38% share of the Australian-Europe traffic, and Turkish Airlines' arrival is going to reinforce that. The benefits far exceed those of the Turkish-based company. Sydney Airport stated also that the airline arrival on the shores will generate more than 53 million AUD in visitor expenditure in the first year, while supporting 290 local jobs in the state. These figures are per estimates from Destination New South Wales. Staying within Australia and moving over to the Australian flag carrier Qantas and the broader group who are currently overhauling their fleet, and to do this they've been heavily focused on taking delivery of new aircraft as well as placing orders for planes in the last 3 years. The arrival of the A220, this for the Qantas Link division, was broadly considered the first part of an overhaul, at least for the more mainline operation. This following Jetstar's acquisition of the A321LR, which has been game-changing for them, and I guess you could consider part of the overhaul efforts. Preparations now, however, are well underway for Qantas to take delivery of its first A321XLR produced by Airbus. This next-generation single-aisle, once delivered, is set to reshape how Qantas's day-to-day operations are to be conducted. The first unit has entered the final assembly hall of Airbus's production facility in Hamburg, Germany, and is expected to be delivered in the coming coming months. Qantas says it's forecasting that the first delivery of the XLR will occur in April 2025. However, with the continued supply chain difficulties, there are obvious uncertainties about when a plane will arrive, period. It's quite literally not in the airline's hands, and rather the manufacturers, and therein lies one of your biggest problems for companies in the last few years: the degree of uncertainty when it comes to forecasting, when they're going to put said plane on, say, certain routes, and much more. The Australian flag carrier has 28 commitments on firm order for the XLR. The order includes purchase rights on top of that, which can be activated to increase the total units if they wish to do so at some point. Ultimately, the XLR will have a fundamental role in those renewal efforts. It'll replace the beloved 737, and from a unit reliance perspective, the 737 is the most important fleet type and drives their day-to-day domestic operations, but can also be seen at other more international cities too. By purchasing the A321XLR, Qantas will have added capacity to its domestic network and range capabilities that were not previously possible. All this is going to enhance network possibilities, which is very exciting to say the least. Those capabilities that I speak so often about are certainly considered on Airbus's front a driving factor of why they believed they needed to develop the XLR, and we know, at least from the standpoint of range capabilities, it's been a massive selling point for this new aircraft, and why it has been a hit already. Once the A321XLRs are delivered, Qantas says they'll begin being deployed on domestic flights currently operated by the 737. Those XLRs are around 5 meters longer than the 737, which is outgoing, allowing for a 13% increase in total seat capacity, which will be beneficial. In total, we'll see 197 seats on the new aircraft, configured in 2 classes. You'll have 20 business class seats at the front and 177 economy seats behind that. Qantas has really optimized the configuration of its first XLR as well to see a 66% increase in premium seats, as the company looks to cater to a wide array of market types. This new fleet type will offer what Qantas as well describes as a far more comfortable experience than your older aircraft. This is thanks to the continued technological advancements that make flying quieter, smoother, and also help Qantas align with sustainability goals that it has. The flag carrier will implement wider seats, and these planes will have larger windows, and Qantas will add free fast Wi-Fi across domestic flights. Space will be prioritised away from the seats, with overhead bins that will allow for 60% more baggage than what is found on the outgoing 737. Pilot training for the XLR is currently underway, and pilots are set to spend up to 60 hours or more in a simulator before entering the next generation plane. All of this training is being aided by the 800 pieces of new tooling that Qantas Engineering has had delivered. If you have any thoughts on a bit of an Australian themed video, you're more than welcome to drop them down below in the comments. Thanks a bunch for your support here on the channel. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, for your latest industry developments.